The climate wars are heating up once again. Joining me is National Senator Matt Canavan. Matt, thanks for your time. Do you think the coalition should commit to a new, lower 2030 emissions reduction target?
No, well, I think we should get out of this whole ridiculous facade. It is a facade because no other country in the world is really taking this seriously except Australia. It's costing Australian families a fortune because ever since we signed up to net zero emissions and this 2030 target, prices have gone through the roof. Fuel prices are through the roof. Electricity prices are through the roof. And that is then flowing on to the cost of everything. Energy is so important. I mean, last year, the US, the United States, produced more oil than any country in any year. And that was under the Biden administration. Who knows what will happen if Trump is re-elected later this year. And then yesterday, of course, the European Union voted massively against the green agenda. Green parties right across the continent were smashed because people are just not buying this exaggerated crisis or existential crisis, sometimes people describe, about climate change. It's costing people too much. And so we need to take care of our country and our people. And the only way to get inflation down properly is to increase the productivity of our economy. And that means harnessing all of our energy resources, including coal and gas, and putting aside these absurd climate targets.
The Prime Minister is warning if we go back to the climate wars and ditch the 2030 target, it would make Australia an international pariah on the world stage. You're not worried about that at all? Is it worth sacrificing our international standing, as the Prime Minister is saying?
Well, look, I've just gone through for you there. I mean, we're actually the Prime Minister is the international pariah. The Prime Minister's crazy attempt to get to 82% renewable energy, that's the international pariah. No other country in the world is really trying this. I mean, New Zealand also, the New Zealand government has walked away. But no other
country has watered down its 2030 targets. Would that be a victory for you if Australia was the first to do it?
Well, I think in life, it's what people do is a lot more important than what people say. I mean, our problem is we often as a country try and do what we say, which I think is an admirable trait. But it's clear that no other country is doing it. I mean, Germany have been reopening coal-fired power stations. The UK is searching for oil again in the North Sea. As I said, the United States is drilling oil like it's going out of fashion. And of course, then you come to our part of the world, most relevant for us, where China's building 2 coal-fired power stations a week. India just hit a record amount of coal mining in their country, smashing expectations there. I mean, we are out of step here with the rest of the world, and that's why our economy is weakening. That's why people's standard of living has gone back to a level not seen since 2011. I mean, that's why people are struggling here. That's why the Prime Minister is struggling in the polls, because people's living standards have dropped by more than a decade under these net zero policies. It's time to change tack and prioritise the strength of our economy and therefore the health of Australian families' budgets.
Senator, there's been a lot of concern about China's influence in our region and across the Pacific Islands, including from the coalition. Are we risking pushing them away and even further towards China more by ditching the 2030 target?
I mean, I just said, I don't see how this is a coherent argument, because China is building 2 coal-fired power stations a week. They installed last year more than 100 gigawatts of coal-fired power, more than 5 times the coal-fired power we have in Australia. They installed that in just 1 year. So in what logical world would us just, maybe we just build a couple, like they can build 100 odd, and we'll just build a couple, and then suddenly apparently those Pacific Islands will rush into the arms of the country building 100 coal-fired power stations because they're concerned about climate change. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, we have to have the ability as our country to decide what's best for our nation, just like any other proud nation in the world. And this ridiculous Paris Agreement, the argument of the government right now is we can't change, or you can't change, the voters can't change, the Australian voters can't change our climate change targets in 2030 because of an international agreement we signed in 2015 says you can't do that. Well, I actually think the Australian people are sovereign in this country, not international organisations like the United Nations. They get to have a say. And so there should be a choice and a competition and an election, and let Australian voters decide what should happen in this country.